Next news alert, President Trump preparing for his New Year agenda at Mar-a-Lago, where he celebrated his first Christmas in office yesterday, surrounded by family and friends. Good morning. I'm Rick Leventhal.
And I'm Julie Banderas. Good to see you. How was yesterday? Did you enjoy it?
Wonderful.
It was. I bet you it was less chaotic than my Christmas. Bill and Sandra are off. I'm Julie Banderas. President Trump capping a quiet Christmas last night, tweeting, quote, "I hope everyone is having a great Christmas. Then tomorrow it's back to work in order to make America great again," which is happening faster than anyone anticipated. The president's first Christmas Eve was a busy one, though. He and First Lady Melania took calls from children to help them track Santa. The president also made calls to American troops stationed around the world.
As we celebrate this most precious holiday, we're grateful for each of you who spend this Christmas away from your families and defend all of our families, our freedoms, and our flag. Every American heart is thankful to you, and we're asking God to watch over you and to watch over your families.
Rich Edson is live from West Palm Beach with more. Rich?
Yeah, good morning, Rick. And another pleasant South Florida December day here near President Trump's resort, where he is spending his holiday week with his family. Had a fairly light day yesterday, no public events. We didn't really see the president. We only heard from him on Twitter a couple of times, though he did, through one of those tweets, send out a holiday message from himself and from the First Lady. Also, as part of this, administration sources say the president provided Christmas dinner to Secret Service, law enforcement, military service officers who are assigned to protect the First family over this holiday weekend. The president's schedule for today thus far is unclear. After a slow day yesterday, though, he has resumed some Twitter activity. This morning, he tweeted, quote, "Based on the fact that the very unfair and unpopular individual mandate has been terminated as part of our tax cut bill, which essentially repeals over time Obamacare, Democrats and Republicans will eventually come together and develop a great new health care plan." Now, the tax bill that President Trump just recently signed does remove the individual mandate. It's this requirement in Obamacare that nearly every American have health insurance or pay a penalty to the Internal Revenue Service. That has now been removed, and a number of analysts believe that could collapse one portion of Obamacare, but the balance of the law still remains. Democrats say they want to improve it. Republicans say they want to replace it, though they have been unable thus far to coalesce around a plan to do so. So that's just one of the many agenda items that Republicans and the president are working on trying to figure out and have to address in the new year. That, along with budgeting, the debt ceiling, disaster relief, immigration, and some other issues like infrastructure.
I think you'll see the president roll out infrastructure plan in January, and the president has already invited Leader McConnell and Speaker Ryan to Camp David the first weekend in January to make sure we're all on the same page about what our priorities are for 2018.
Now, this agenda, this congressional agenda, also begins in 2018, what will also be a midterm election year for Democrats and Republicans in the House and Senate. It is fairly notable that usually those types of years are difficult to accomplish things. So the closer that you are to the beginning of the year, typically it spells better fortunes out. The president has also been tweeting about the FBI's deputy director, Andrew McCabe. He is expected to retire early part of next year. His wife ran for a Virginia Senate seat as a Democrat, and the president has been using that as an example to say that this FBI or special counsel investigation into any type of Russian collusion in the 2016 presidential election is tainted. The president continues on that front as well, offering a tweet about that so-called dossier, the document that purports the president had contact with Russians during the campaign season, to all say that this investigation isn't exactly on firm ground, Rick.
And Rich, will have much more on that coming up later this hour. Rich Edson in West Palm Beach, thanks very much.
Okay, so for more on this, let's bring in Byron York, chief political correspondent for the Washington Examiner. Byron, thank you for talking to us, and Merry Christmas to you.
Good morning.
So after months of ridicule of getting no major legislation passed, as we know, President Trump finally got his tax bill passed. He sees the individual mandate put in by Obamacare, put that to an end, and he was able to fulfill his promise to carry out extreme vetting on immigrants and travelers around the world into the U.S., so a modified version of his travel ban. Those are all issues that a lot of his opponents argued he had not gotten done and had not upheld his promises. Could that streak be difficult to keep up in the new year?
Oh, it probably will. I think right now, though, Donald Trump is enjoying hearing a lot of Republicans and some conservative commentators, as they look back at 2017, say, wow, there was a lot of controversy, but the president actually got quite a bit done. You just mentioned some of those. He cut corporate and individual tax rates. He got rid of the Obamacare individual mandate, opened up vast areas to new oil exploration, put one Supreme Court justice on the court, and confirmed a record number of judges to the circuit courts, and got rid of a lot of regulations, and also achieved a victory over ISIS. So I think a number of Republicans have basically said, you know, that was a pretty good year. The question now, though, is after the passage of the tax bill and the Christmas and New Year break, everything becomes about re-election for members of Congress. Every single member of the House of Representatives is up for election again in 2018, and 1/3 of the Senate. So everything you see from them is going to be about how can we get re-elected.
That is true. And so the Democrats are going to now have to fight hard, because they now have quite a fight up against them, considering the GOP managed to accomplish so much. But there's also the case of the media and how that will be dealt with moving forward. There's this media research center that came out with coverage of Trump on ABC, CBS, and NBC evening newscasts in September, October, and November. Their coverage was more than 90% negative. White House spokeswoman Sarah Huckabee Sanders recently tweeted, and I want to show it to our viewers, which is the more underreported story of POTUS year one? Defeat of ISIS, booming Trump economy. Meaning that the good news of President Trump's presidency hasn't really received much attention. Is it time for the mainstream media to give him a fair shake?
Well, those are two questions. Is it time for them to do it, and will they do it?
Yeah.
And I would not expect that the tenor of press coverage of the president would change, which is, by the way, one of the reasons he cherishes his Twitter feed, which is his way to go above the head of the press, to set the agenda for the day. We've seen him doing a lot of it this morning already, and that's the reason he does it, even though a number of people, you talk to voters, listen to focus groups, some of them are tired by the more confrontational tweets that he sends out. He still believes that is his way to communicate directly with the American people and not have to go through the news networks.
Right. You know, lending to the bad press, obviously, and you just touched on it, has been basically the president who has relentlessly attacked the news reports as fake news, and so he uses his Twitter account to rebut them. But it, of course, is not a way to win influence with the press. However, it's not the president's job to make friends with the media. But is there a better way maybe he could go about handling the press moving forward into the new year?
Well, you know, he has this odd relationship with the press in the sense that he's given a lot of access to reporters. I mean, how many times have we seen him walking out to the helicopter on the South Lawn of the White House and stop and talk to reporters who can ask him anything they want to? And certainly in the first months of his administration, he was just wildly accessible to people in the press. So on the one hand, I think a lot of White House reporters and others in the press would have to say, you know, in terms of accessibility, he was been more accessible than Barack Obama was at many times in the Obama White House years. On the other hand, there is this running war with the press. He picks out outlets that he, you know, for specific criticism. He does that a lot with CNN, and he just goes on and on about fake news, and they seem to take the bait from that a lot and get into arguments with the president when in fact they'd probably be better off just reporting everything straight and letting the president say what he wants.
Well, maybe that should be a New Year's resolution for everyone. Let's just report the news straight and stop the bickering.
Still a few days, yes.
You know what? New Year's resolutions are meant to be broken, so that is never going to happen. But whatever, I like to throw it out there. This is why I don't set New Year's resolutions. Byron York, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Tragic news over the holiday. A California Highway Patrol officer struck and killed by a suspected drunk driver on Christmas Eve. Police say the 33-year-old officer was in the passenger seat of a parked patrol car when he was struck on the San Francisco Bay Area highway. The officer leaves behind 3 children who had been waiting for their father to return home to open Christmas presents.
Today we lost not only a hero, but a son, a brother, husband, and a father to a senseless act and an irresponsible decision. Many families have been impacted by this incident, as well as the citizens of California that Officer Camilleri swore to protect.
Police say the driver who struck the patrol car was seriously injured and believed to have been under the influence of alcohol and marijuana.
Well, some tense moments at Boston's Logan Airport. JetBlue Flight 50 from Savannah, Georgia, briefly skidding after landing last night after possibly hitting a patch of ice. Firefighters helping passengers off the plane, and they were then bussed to the terminal. Authorities say, fortunately, no one was injured. The Massachusetts Port Authority, meantime, says snow had forced the airport to close its runways for a short period Christmas morning. Officials say that runways were cleared shortly before noon.
Well, President Trump signaling a renewed effort to repeal Obamacare after the individual mandate was scrapped in the new tax law. But will Republicans be able to fully repeal the law next year? Our political panel weighs in.
All right. Plus, is the Russia probe reaching a turning point? What the president's lawyer is now saying and what it could mean for the investigation.
Plus, UN Ambassador Nikki Haley issuing a new warning to the United Nations while announcing a major budget cut. Ambassador John Bolton on that next.
When we make generous contributions to the UN, we also have a legitimate expectation that our goodwill is recognized and respected.
A Fox News alert. In Afghanistan, ISIS claiming responsibility for a bombing in the capital city of Kabul that killed at least 10 people. Police say the bomb was detonated near a security checkpost at Afghanistan's National Intelligence Agency as employees were heading to work today. Hospital officials say the number of casualties could rise.
The Trump administration announcing member countries have negotiated a $285 million cut to the United Nations budget. This comes after UN Ambassador Nikki Haley last week threatened to cut back on contributions, saying America was tired of getting disrespected by the world body, reacting angrily after more than 100 countries, including some of our closest allies, voted to condemn the U.S. decision to recognize Jerusalem as the capital of Israel. The ambassador in a statement saying, quote, "This historic reduction in spending, in addition to many other moves toward a more efficient and accountable UN, is a big step in the right direction. While we are pleased with the results of this year's budget negotiations, you can be sure we'll continue to look at ways to increase the UN's efficiency while protecting our interests." Over the weekend, Guatemala, which voted in support of the U.S., announced plans to move its embassy to Jerusalem. Let's bring in Ambassador John Bolton, former U.S. ambassador to the UN, Fox News contributor, and senior fellow for the American Enterprise Institute. Good morning, Ambassador.
Good morning. Glad to be with you.
I'm wondering if Nikki Haley read your editorial in the Wall Street Journal, because you were calling for a reduction in money being given to the United Nations.
Well, I think this is a real opportunity for the Trump administration. There are plenty of parts of the UN system that don't deserve any U.S. funding, let alone a cut. And I think if the administration really wants to review what the options are available to us, they should consider eliminating U.S. participation in the, in effect, system of international taxation that burdens us with a 22% share of most UN budgets, 28% in terms of UN peacekeeping, and move toward voluntary contributions. I think if we did that, other countries would follow us, and I think it would be like a tsunami through the UN system.
Ambassador, is this nearly $300 million cut, is that payback, or is the payback still to come?
No. This is the budget for the 2018-2019 UN biennium. That's the way they do their budgets in two-year chunks. And so this has been negotiated over a period of time. It comes after the Thursday General Assembly vote on Jerusalem, but it was basically baked in the cake before then.
Well, in that vote, Ambassador, we had many allies vote against us and against the move of the U.S. Embassy from Tel Aviv to Jerusalem. Those countries that voted against us, we give them $21 billion a year. So there's a lot more money that could be pulled, right?
Sure, that is a separate subject, but also raised by the president, that in terms of bilateral foreign assistance, there might be cuts in that as well. But I think the focus on the UN is proper because it's the forum that the UN provides that allows for this kind of U.S. bashing. And I think many Americans were shocked to see U.S. allies join with our adversaries to criticize us for doing what? For deciding to put our embassy in Israel's capital city. So, you know, this is one of these catastrophic mistakes that the UN makes from time to time, but it's why it gives the Trump administration a real opportunity to say no more business as usual.
But it's not a surprise to see the UN vote against the U.S. on the subject of Israel, or to target Israel in the General Assembly.
Well, it's not coincidental at all. Indeed, it's something that I think the majority in the General Assembly got used to during the Obama administration. Maybe they didn't realize there was a new president, but I think that's going to come. I think it's now really up to the administration to come up with what its plan will be. But I think it would find great receptivity in Congress and may even have a political impact in an election year as well.
As someone who knows the UN very well, sir, what impact might this $285 million cut actually have?
Listen, there's nothing that speaks like American money at the UN, and when we don't put our money where our mouth is, frequently we're just ignored. I think this cut was something based on agreement with a lot of the other countries, so in that sense it's not so revolutionary, but the stage is now set for some pretty dramatic steps, and I think the administration would be well advised to do that. For example, I think we should withdraw from the UN Human Rights Council. I think we should totally defund it. I think it's just pure theater. There are a number of other UN programs and agencies I think we could zero out, and we stay in the ones that we think are actually providing value. I mean, it's a revolutionary principle. The United States should pay for what it wants and expect to get what it pays for. Most Americans would say, aren't we doing that already?
Yeah, but we're giving them billions of dollars a year. So this is basically a drop in the bucket.
Well, it's a start, and I think it's important, and I think the signal that it sends is one that ought to get people thinking, what else should we cut? Looking at the multilateral development banks around the world that provide subsidized loans to countries that are competitors of the United States in the international marketplace. I would think that's something the Trump White House would want to look at as well.
Ambassador John Bolton, we appreciate your insight this morning. Thanks very much.
Glad to be with you.
Well, a major airline issuing a major mea culpa, what United is doing after a passenger complained. A congresswoman was given her first-class seat.
Plus, the nation's retailers seeing their best Christmas in years. The two major factors fueling this and why this could be just the start. United Airlines is now apologizing and offering a $500 travel voucher after a passenger accused the airline of giving her first-class seat to Democratic Congresswoman Sheila Jackson Lee earlier this month, telling the woman her reservation had been canceled and then giving her a seat in Economy Plus. The flight was from Houston to Washington, D.C. United says it upgraded Jackson Lee automatically and not because she's a member of Congress. The Congresswoman in a statement says that she didn't ask for anything exceptional or out of the ordinary.
Well, Santa delivering Christmas cheer for America's retailers. The Wall Street Journal reporting retail sales are at their very best pace in 6 years, and the shopping season is not over yet. Oh, God, don't tell me it's not over yet. I am done. We're joined now by Fox Business Network anchor Cheryl Casoni. Why would people continue to shop after this?
You know what today is?
What is today?
It's Tuesday Return Day. That's what that is.
Oh, yeah,
That's
Tuesday Return Day. I'm like, wait, we've got Black Friday, Cyber Monday, Tuesday Return Day.
I just made that up. That's not really an official
It really
title,
is,
but it is.
A lot of people run to the stores.
Yeah.
This is why I only online shop. But, I mean, obviously the economy's doing well, and it proves it in all of the shopping that was done over the holiday season.
Yeah, we've spent $598 billion so far this season. That is $33 billion more than we spent last year. So
That's
the years,
incredible.
like the year-over-year comparison is incredible. Stock market, gangbusters. You've got unemployment at a 17-year low. Tax reform did pass. You know, the average American, according to the Tax Foundation, is going to see their paycheck go up anywhere from 0.5% to 2% in 2018. So all this buzz, you know, makes consumers more confident. We're going to get another reading this week, you know, to see how the markets react. But yeah, I mean, it's been incredible. People bought things for the kitchen. They bought a lot of toys, obviously. Coats were a big seller so far this year. So people are really going out, and they weren't just hitting the online. I mean, I online shopped.
Yeah,
yes,
but that's
ma'am.
just because I hate lines.
I hate walking into a store.
Or just being in crowds.
Exactly.
Or just getting out of the house.
You and I are on our computer
issues.
shopping. And, you know, look, online sales, I mean, twice the amount of people that shopped in bricks and mortar shopped online. So it's a 2-for-1 ratio.
Yeah.
Yes, we're shopping online. But honestly, people went to Macy's. They went to Dick's Sporting Goods. I mean, people actually did walk into stores this year. And I think that's a good thing.
You know, President Trump had said that he had a wonderful Christmas present that he was going to give the American people in the form of the tax bill. I think a lot of people are maybe spending money that they haven't gotten back. And my concern is, are people spending money they don't have? Because it does seem that a lot of people are spending more because they're excited about this return, but you haven't gotten your return yet.
You haven't, and you don't know what it's going to look like, especially depending on what state you live in, which we've talked about before. If you're in New York or New Jersey or Connecticut or California, well, you know, the Grinch probably just stole your Christmas. But when it comes to tax reform, but if you look overall, though, at what companies are doing, I mean, we're looking at potentially $400 billion coming back into this country in repatriation. Companies taking all that cash overseas, they're going to bring it back to America. That's a good thing. That's what Trump wanted.
Right.
A lot of companies actually started giving out huge bonuses this month. Part of it, I think, is a tax move, in my opinion, because you can still deduct those expenses in 2017 if you're a business, but also because they said, you know what, look, it's time to share the wealth with our employees. So a lot of people were out there spending bonuses in the stores this year versus last year. I mean, this is the best holiday season we've had since the Great Recession. That's pretty
incredible.
Great.
Yeah, and the unemployment numbers obviously are going down. Employment is up, and that's something the president has also touted. Morale at the workplace, I mean, one way to do it is obviously to throw in bonuses.
The holiday party
So
kind of came back this year.
Yeah, I mean, and if the companies have the money, what better way? And they get a break, too. And then the corporate tax cuts. I mean, the tax rate going down for corporate America is huge, and this does not just benefit the rich, unlike a lot of people who like to say it does. It doesn't.
That's
the average American working person.
That's, you know, you're right, Julie. And I think that maybe the messaging has gotten lost. When you've got Chuck Schumer sitting up there going, this is horrific for the middle class, it's a break for the wealthy. No,
you
it's
want
not.
your employer to get a tax rate because a lower tax rate because you're getting a bonus. I mean, come on.
You're getting a bonus.
I mean, I haven't seen my bonus yet, but I'm just saying, hypothetically speaking.
Where is our
It's an
bonus?
idea. I'm just throwing it out there. I believe the newsroom should be cheering right now.
I think so, yeah. I mean, but you know, I have to say, though, one of the things about the tax reform package, obviously, you know, this is the last week between Christmas and New Year's.
Right.
There are a few things you might want to do, depending, especially if you're living in one of the wealthier blue states. Charitable deductions. Like if you think that you want to give money to the ASPCA, I'm not just singling them out, do it now.
Okay.
Don't wait until next month if you've got the extra cash and
That's a great tip. All right.
Do your charitable deductions. And then also a lot of businesses, like small businesses, say that you have a client that owes you $5,000 for something. Don't pester that client to pay you this week. Have them wait until 2018 because the breaks for you are going to be better in 2018 if you're a small business owner. You know, and then it's funny, a lot of people, especially New Jersey, New York, are trying to prepay their property taxes. Not every county can do it.
No.
Across the country, people are trying to prepay property taxes because they know that they're not going to get that deal next year. So it's been interesting.
Yeah, it sure has been. All right. Well, thank you. We're going to see you on Fox Business Network all day today.
All day. I'm going to anchor the whole day.
All day long. It's just featuring Cheryl Casoni. Thank you very much. Good to see you. Rick.
The White House lawyers looking forward to a quick end to Special Counsel Robert Mueller's Russia investigation. How soon will it wrap up? What one Trump lawyer is saying.
Plus, an unusual sight on Christmas Day in one city. Ahead, we're going to take a look at a few locations that had a white Christmas yesterday.
And a heartwarming tribute to Arizona Senator John McCain from a hometown football star.
It was a rare white Christmas in Seattle, the Puget Sound area, waking up to several inches of snow on Christmas Day. The National Weather Service saying it is only the 7th time in Seattle recorded history that the city has had measurable Christmas snow. Not many folks complaining, though.
It's very rare in Seattle to have any snow. In other places like, I don't know, Antarctica, it snows for like the whole year around.
This is pretty magical. Snow on Christmas Eve and a white Christmas.
Meantime, yeah, it does snow in Antarctica. Smart kid. Millions of Americans from the Midwest to the Northeast saw a white Christmas. Chicago, which is no stranger to snow, not in Antarctica, saw several inches fall.
Fox News alert, President Trump's lawyers standing by his predictions for the special counsel's Russia investigation, telling the Wall Street Journal yesterday that the portion of the probe that involves the president will wrap up quickly. This comes as the White House Legislative Affairs Director says he's looking forward to its conclusion so the country can move forward.
The White House has cooperated in every single way with that investigation, and after millions and millions of dollars, no collusion has been proven.
Daniel Halper is contributing editor for the Weekly Standard and Washington Free Beacon. Daniel, thanks for being with us this morning.
It's great to be here.
So the lawyer says he's looking forward to expeditiously wrapping up this matter. Wishful thinking?
Perhaps. We just don't know what he's basing it on. I mean, we know the lawyers generally in these kinds of investigations communicate with one another, so perhaps he has some sort of indication from Mueller's team. But it also seems more likely that it's wishful thinking, that the Trump White House and the president and all his subordinates want it to be over sooner rather than later. It has been a major distraction and a big impediment to getting a lot of things done, though they have overcome that as well in some cases. And it seems like perhaps they're projecting rather than basing it on fact.
Well, looking forward to it doesn't mean that they actually expect it.
Well, that's true, too. You can parse it many different ways. He also said that the portion involving the president would be over soon, meaning that it's still going to go on for a while. Look, there have been people indicted. We know this. Presumably, the special counsel sticks around at least until those legal proceedings go through. And that's assuming there are no indictments, which I think there probably will be more. So it seems like it's going to go on for a lot longer than in the next month or two.
Then why would they say it?
Well, again, perhaps they're projecting. They want to pressure. They want to suggest that it will be over. Perhaps they're trying to tell the president to hang on, that they're going to move past the focus on you soon and just focus more on the subordinates. But we don't know actually why they're saying it. They haven't told us why they're saying it, and we don't know what basis they're making these claims. It just seems strange and perhaps not tethered exactly to the facts.
Well, the president has obviously been critical of the investigation and of the investigators. He's been alleging bias. Do you think that's justified?
In some cases, there's evidence to suggest that there has been bias by some of the investigators, certainly. But it does seem like he's trying to will the outcome the way he wants it to be. We just don't have much insight into the investigation. There have been a certain number of leaks. We have a little bit, but we don't know. Are they focusing on collusion, as has been stated? Perhaps. Are they focusing on obstruction of justice, the firing of Jim Comey, and perhaps what they believe the president or his subordinates trying to tamper the investigation? Perhaps there are suggestions to that effect. Or is there something else altogether going on? Or is there something out of left field on which none of us can predict or none of us know? So there's just so much going on that we just don't know about, that really, we take these statements that the lawyers make because we believe that they're insights into what's going on, and we take them and we try to analyze them, but we must acknowledge also that there are limits to that.
Well, the White House has said that its team is working very well with Mueller's team, that those attorneys are talking and are getting along. So the discussion that perhaps the White House might try to fire Mueller was complete nonsense. And so maybe this springs from that, from the lawyers talking to each other, and the lawyers may be told, hey, listen, we're almost done here.
Yeah, it might. It might very well. We just don't know. I'd say the firing of Mueller, that has never come from the White House. That has come from Democrats who are, in a way, eager for the president to fire Mueller so they can jump on the president and try to perhaps impeach him for that. So there are these rumors that sort of percolate and that everybody pounces on, that don't necessarily have any basis in facts. They just want their other sides projecting and other sides. So it's a very weird thing. I will say that this president has been, in a way, he has handled this investigation a little stranger than other presidents in the past, in the fact that he comments on it very, very regularly, and he signals his disapproval of it. Normally, I think most presidents in the past who have been under investigation try to just be quiet, and I think that's what most lawyers would recommend that their clients do. But of course, President Trump does tend to handle a lot of things differently than his predecessors, and we'll see how it plays out for him.
Yeah, I don't think we can expect the president to be quiet on this or pretty much anything else. Daniel Halper, thanks very much for your time this morning.
Thank you.
One of the most celebrated and iconic bridges in the nation's capital, Arlington Memorial Bridge, is in need of repair. Officials say it is no longer safe on days when there is heavy traffic. And what day is there not heavy traffic in the nation's capital? Douglas Kennedy has more on the bridge's condition.
This bridge carries the weight of history on its arches. To historian Jonathan Horn, the Arlington Memorial Bridge is truly a bridge that connects us as a country. So on the Washington side, you've got the Lincoln Memorial, and on the Virginia side, you have the house where Robert E. Lee lived.
Right, and this is the bridge that symbolically binds North and South together.
Unfortunately, it's a binding that's literally coming apart as the bridge's interior posts are rusting away. And the concrete in the 9 arch spans has been deteriorating for decades. All of this, according to Lauren Lineman from the Federal Highway Administration. So the center span right where we're walking is the most critical.
Correct. The posts at the bottoms are corroding, and they could eventually crush from the weight of the structure.
A nightmare scenario that prompted the National Park Service to close the bridge to vehicles during Donald Trump's inauguration. Possibly one reason the Trump administration has put repairing the bridge high on the list of infrastructure projects. So they estimate it's going to cost $250 million to repair the bridge. What are they going to get for that?
They're not only going to get this bascule span replaced, but it'll be a total overhaul of the bridge. It'll be a complete new bridge deck the whole way across.
An investment Horn says is important to our past and our future.
This is not just another piece of infrastructure. This is the bridge that symbolically connects our union, that holds it together, and it needs to be saved.
He says given the current political climate, we need the Memorial Bridge now more than ever. In Washington, D.C., Douglas Kennedy, Fox News.
Arizona Cardinals wide receiver Larry Fitzgerald penning a tribute to Senator John McCain for Christmas this year, offering prayers as the 81-year-old lawmaker continues to battle brain cancer. Fitzgerald, in an open letter published in Sports Illustrated, writing, quote, "The sacrifices John McCain has made for our country, and especially the men and women he served with in the military, are incredible. As a prisoner of war in Vietnam, he missed 6 Christmases with his family back home and suffered unbelievable hardship. Today, my friend, Senator John McCain, again finds himself in a battle. This time, it's with cancer, and the treatment he's undergoing is exhausting. I'll wish him a Merry Christmas today, and I pray he lives another 20 years.
I love to see an athlete coming out and saying that about him, and boy, he doesn't deserve it anymore. I mean, I have to say, he has spent so many times, like he said, away from his family for Christmas. He left Washington to go be with his family in Arizona, and it's a special Christmas for all of them.
Good for Larry Fitzgerald. He's a class act.
Yeah, no, absolutely. Kudos to him for writing that. Well, the PC police may be aiming again at history textbooks, the latest push to rewrite what we know about major historical figures stirring controversy.
Plus, President Trump and House Republicans not giving up in their fight to repeal Obamacare after a major component of the health care law was eliminated in the new tax law. Whether we will really see the end of Obamacare in 2018.
That was one of the pillars of Obamacare, and we've gotten rid of that. I'd love to see other changes, and we're going to be moving to bills that have enough votes to pass.